Are you in the 99% of people studying self-improvement, yet not getting the results you want? If you are in that group, then you will learn a lot in this video, but I can't promise you'll like it. Just that it will explain to you the problem you have and what to do about it. A few years ago, I decided to figure out why there was an abundance of wisdom available to almost everybody in the world, yet there were so few people living successful lives. And by success, I mean living the life they love on their terms and getting a real sense of personal achievement. In particular, I was interested in the less than 10% of society that were actively looking to improve themselves with self-improvement material, and why less than 1% of those ever achieved the life of their dreams. I wrote about this in A Bug-Free Mind, but my understanding has grown since then, and this video should explain the whole problem even better than I did back then. My fascination is in the 99% of people, in the group of people who were studying and not getting anywhere. This really fascinated me. What's going on? It turns out that using the way we are shown to create success is almost as impossible to succeed with as flying to Mars by flapping your arms. How can I say that, given that a few people do succeed? Because the people who do succeed, saying they use this method, didn't use that method. They succeeded because they already could. The problem I've found after 2 decades of focusing on this is there are 5 elements that are actively working against people studying self-improvement which are preventing their progress. These 5 elements are either not known about or are known and not considered. So to nutshell it, there are 5 elements to the main problem in today's world of no progress with success and personal achievement, and no amount of cramming in knowledge will overcome this, which means continuing to study this way will continue to be as effective as flapping your arms to fly to Mars. So what are these 5 elements? The first 2 elements are closely connected. The first is that you are simply drowning in information today. If you're typical, you've bought countless books on personal development, your shelf is stacked full of them, and your reading list continues to grow with every Facebook post asking for more reading suggestions. However, the truth is, if you're not living your dream life right now, then you're not applying what you're learning. Which begs the question, so what's the point of learning it? People forget to look at this. Because if they did, then they'd start to find the answer they are actually looking for in all the books. In today's world of people studying self-improvement, you're left with people who can talk about what they are learning, so much so that they could teach it to others, yet they just can't apply it themselves to their own lives. We've all seen life coaches who cannot practice nor achieve what they preach. More truth is, you and everyone studying self-improvement are at the very best using less than 5% of whatever you learn to change and improve your life. That can't be true though, right? As you've learned so much. As my regular students will know, I often comment on knowledge without application actually being destructive, not constructive, to people's development. But why is that? You see, we've all been conditioned by our education system, by our peers, by the personal achievement teachers, that the way to success is to read, and study as much as possible. There's only one problem with this plan. It's utter garbage. If you've been out in the real world for any length of time, you already know that it doesn't really matter what you know. It doesn't matter how much you can memorize. The only thing that matters in the real world is what you can apply. What you can actually do. Everything else is just noise. Pleasant noise, but just noise. Until you can learn to apply it. Which is why I advise people to apply just-in-time learning. Which is the second element. Think about it. Why learn something before you need it? Because learning something fools you into thinking you know something, and that you don't need to learn it later. When later is when you actually do need it, and can therefore implement it. But our nature is to assume we have learned something when we haven't. The solution is to always consider, am I living to this? If you are, then you have learnt it for now. But there is element 3, which causes a problem with that. But before we get to element 3, let's consider, if you are not living to what you learned, well, it means you haven't learnt it properly. You merely have a weak and destructive intellectual understanding. That's all. It's destructive because you incorrectly assume you have learnt it and know it. Way better to know you don't know something than know you do but do not. And to confuse things even more, you are correct, you do know it, but you don't know it to a high enough level. Knowing something transforms into wisdom when you are living to it. So knowing something is useless and destructive if you are not living to it. So your progress doesn't happen because you are overwhelmed with new and competing information. And you are not applying what you've already learned. How could you possibly make real progress following this method, which is the exact method that 99% of people in the group of self-improvement students follow? But it gets worse. The third and simply massive element, which is not understood by virtually everyone on earth, is your mind is not static. The human mind is constantly changing and is therefore not static. Obvious, right? So why do we assume and believe we can learn something and know it if we are not living to it? If we couldn't live to it when we learnt it, how do we think we can possibly live to it later after years of changes in our thinking? Because the whole world is following this very same false assumption. The whole world believes they can learn something and then they have that information and that's the end of it. They believe they now have it on call at a moment's notice. If this were true in any way, then there would be a 99% reduction in stress, anxiety and depression in the world. Can you imagine that? Almost no one stressed, almost no one anxious, and almost no one depressed. No, of course you can't imagine it, as it's not possible, yet at least. Instead, we are at epidemic levels of depression, anxiety and stress. So why is it not possible to learn confidence once and have it forever? To learn to let go of worries once and not have relief from worries forever? To learn freedom from fears and not have that freedom forever? Why is none of this possible? Because your mind is not static. Your mind changes from this hour to the next. It is changing shape all of the time. Because you are moving through life even if you are sitting still. Your mind this year bears little resemblance to the mind you had when you were 18 years old. Your whole life has changed since then. Therefore, how you think has changed too. Your consciousness has moved up in some areas of life and down in others, and the levels keep changing depending on your life situation. You keep changing always. Therefore, something you learnt last year, last month, may not be something you can apply today because your mind is not static. So to think for a brief second that the accumulation of knowledge would be the solution to personal achievement is just dumb. Even if the whole world does it that way, without a way to keep up with the changes that your mind goes through, then almost everything you learn goes out of date. Then you wonder why you can't achieve what you know you are capable of. If your mind was static, then depression would not be possible. The fact that depression exists in the mind of somebody who studies self-improvement is proof that your mind is not static. It's not because they are weak and should just suck it up. It is because their mind is not processing thoughts in the way their mind is designed to work. Change how thoughts are processed, and the result is freedom from depression, freedom from stress, freedom from anxiety, freedom from overwhelm, freedom from worry, fear. All the nasties cannot help but fall away if you can continue to apply the right thought processes over time. But your mind is not static, and so being able to apply this process is key to continuous and never-ending improvement and the attainment of personal achievement. Why do you assume you can read something once and just have it available to your beck and call? Because education does not take into account the fact that your mind is not static and does not teach just-in-time learning. It's not in their interest to do so. So, someone taught it wrongly and the whole world has copied them. So, your progress doesn't happen because you are overwhelmed with new competing information and you are not applying what you've already learned. And your mind is not the same as when you learnt it. How could you possibly make real progress following this method? Which is the exact method that 99% of people in the group of self-improvement students follow. Can you see why you've made little to no progress? Or can you see why you made progress before but can't seem to get back to that? But wait, it gets worse. The fourth element is simplicity. We think and know we always want simpler. And it's true we do. We have been trained to want and expect it. So simplicity is served up to us, and then we don't make progress. This is because of what Albert Einstein discovered. Make everything as simple as possible, but not simpler. Our minds have to attain the right level of consciousness to be able to understand, learn to know, and then apply the wisdom. If something is too simple, then our minds can switch off our recognition of it. We literally don't see it. You don't think it's too simple? Then consider, are you being the change you wish to see in the world? No, then it was too simple. Our mind was given something too simple and it effectively ignored it 100%. Simplicity has to meet the mind of the student in exactly the right place for wisdom to be seen, learned, accepted, and then finally transformed into living it as a way of life. To prove this, just spend 5 minutes talking to any one of my readers. Anyone who has read or listened to A Bug-Free Mind more than once will tell you they never saw certain parts of the process when they first read it. They'd probably swear it wasn't there. However, most who have listened to it 20 plus times are still discovering new things they have never heard in it before. This is because their consciousness is raising as they study, and they can understand and apply the simplicity. Because I made the lesson simple enough, but not too simple. So that when their mind was ready, the plainly written lesson was absorbed and they were able to live to it easily. People think they can go and get cliff notes from books, and that way get all the wisdom from a 250-page book in a 3-page read. No, they can't. Anyone who thinks that is dumb and desperate. Sure, you can stick more knowledge into your mind, which you are not capable of applying, but you can't get the wisdom from it. But your ego convinces you that you can. And the whole world agrees and does it that way. But everyone doing it one way does not make it right. It just means that our embedded herd thinking is still going strong. People think they must consume and get to the end of the book, the video, the course, to have learned, whereas the truth is to apply what you are learning. If you never get to the end but achieve progress in your goals, then why do you need to get to the end? You don't. The truth is, we want simplicity, but not simpler, even if we don't think we want it. Understanding that there is a limit in our minds for simplicity, because it is relevant to our current level of consciousness, means the fourth element ceases to hold you back. So your progress doesn't happen because you're overwhelmed with new competing information and you're not applying what you've already learnt, and your mind is not the same as when you learnt it. And you're seeking it to be too simple, which means you can't actually learn to apply it. How could you possibly make real progress following this method? Which is the exact method that 99% of people in the group of self-improvement students follow. Can you see why you've made little to no progress? Or can you see why you made progress before but can't seem to get back to that? But wait, it gets worse. There's one more element I've found which is so obvious but is not convenient, so is excluded from people's considerations. But you need to be awake to avoid a problem with learning it. So if you're awake and I haven't put you to sleep, the final element is your level of immersion in the material. Right now your ego will probably be jumping about and rebutting what I've just said. But let me explain, as that line was too simple for your current level of consciousness. A while back, a friend of mine who was studying my Success Made Simple course said to me, "You know, this is the formula Ben Franklin wrote about in his autobiography. You've made what he said practical." I hadn't noticed, but he was right. The formula I'd used to create my course was in that book. It's the formula Ben Franklin called his personal success formula. 200 years before the internet, Ben Franklin had figured this stuff out himself. It was and is the simplest implementation system ever devised for creating a successful life. But that's where the problem lies. As it was so simple, in fact, that for 200 years, despite millions of books being read, Hardly anyone's ever tried it, let alone made it work. The formula, in a nutshell, was this. Now, before I tell you this, please don't be fooled by the simplicity of what I'm about to show you. Yes, it really is simple, but it is also the most powerful secret to getting everything you want in life. Are you ready to hear it? Here it is. What Ben Franklin did was pick one subject and spend a week concentrating on that one thing until it's mastered, and then he moved on to the next. Sounds so obvious, doesn't it? But you, with your massive intellect, can't do obvious stuff like that, as you are dragged off with your need to learn new stuff at the moment you finish consuming the thing you've just learned but can't apply. You have fallen into the habit of acquiring knowledge and moving on. Virtually everyone has. Now, when you were a child, you were in the habit of acquiring knowledge and then applying it and then moving on. You see, we have been trained the wrong way. We used to do it naturally, as success is natural to us. But success has been trained and educated out of us. Instead, we have been trained to thirst for knowledge. So we get knowledge. We get and feel for a while that we've progressed because we've learnt new stuff. But we don't get success and we don't get personal achievement. The way you did it as a child is called focusing. The way you do it as an adult is called confusing. And a confused person does not make progress. They do not succeed and they get no personal achievement. Every time I've moved my life forward, it has come about right after I've immersed myself in a subject and then persisted with my education in it. Every time I talk to someone who's had success in an area, it immediately follows an immersive experience, and then they persisted with their education and focus on it. That's everybody. The personal achievement you seek cannot be attained without immersion in the area you wish achievement in. Franklin knew it, I know it, and you know it now, at the moment, but can you live to it? If you have had successes before, then just look at what led to your success. Right before achieving it, you immersed yourself in that subject. Any lack of progress now is a result of either lack of immersion or one or more of the other four elements. So to recap the 5 elements. Your progress doesn't happen because you are overwhelmed with new competing information and you are not applying what you've already learned. And your mind is not the same as when you learnt it. And you are seeking it to be too simple, which means you can't actually learn to apply it. And you don't immerse yourself in the subject when you do your learning. Now think about it. It's obvious now, when presented in a clear and present way. How could you possibly make real progress following the method of successful attainment that the herd has created and followed? Those 5 fatal elements are the method that 99% of people in the group of self-improvement students automatically, without thought, follow. Now can you see why you've made little to no progress? Or can you see why you made progress before but can't seem to get back to that? So that's what I've figured out, thanks to my fascination in why 99% of people in the group of people who were studying self-improvement were not getting anywhere. So if you're in that group, then the rest of this video is on how you can switch it around so that you can do much less but achieve much more. Does that sound good? My major concern as someone who states his ability to teach this difficult achieving success subject and get people results was, how do I break these herd patterns? How do I get people to stop going around in circles, even if they don't notice they are going around in circles and getting nowhere? How do I get people to stop drowning themselves in information? How do I teach them to always consider if they are applying what they are learning? How do I help them to understand and acknowledge their mind is changing and how best to adapt to the change? How do I demonstrate simplicity, but how to not be too simple? And how to immerse someone without them needing to give up a stack of their very valuable time. I knew achieving this would mean success, fulfillment, and personal achievement for the student. This was the right question, and I knew if I could be the one who solved this problem, it was the key to helping people get everything they desire from life. But to be frank, I was stumped. I did not know the answer, and for me that was quite a rare thing. Until one day, from out of nowhere, it hit me. Make it simple for people, as I do for myself when I want to learn anything. Whenever I want to learn anything, I just break it down into little bite-sized bits and focus on them again and again until I've mastered them. Simple, really. The answer was, I needed to teach you the natural skill you have had trained out of you, the skill of focusing on one thing at a time. I know, it's way too simple, it's too obvious. But if you are studying self-improvement, then it happens to be the solution you have been and are looking for. As I showed you earlier in element 2, if you are not living to the wisdom you are learning, then what's the point of learning it? Surely, learning to apply the wisdom is true genius. Think about it. No more stacks of books waiting to be read, no more feeling guilty for not reading them, no more feeling bad about yourself, no more hoping you'll become better. Instead, you just get progress and a sense of fulfillment. Achieved simply through total and utter focus on one thing at a time, as you make consistent progress towards your goals and dreams, making your success, your personal achievement in any area, certain. However, I knew the problem is getting someone as smart as you to realise that the solution doesn't lie in the acquisition of copious amounts of knowledge, but reacquiring the skill of applying knowledge. In other words, getting you to go against the way you've been trained your entire life. So I knew I had to break success down into bite-sized bits, and that's how I solved the problem of you not being able to absorb the skills and information you need to succeed. And thanks to Ben Franklin, I can give you a wonderful example of this system being applied to live an extraordinary life. His 200-year-old success formula forms the entire premise my Success Made Simple course is built on. So let's see if I can convince you. Let me ask you a few questions. Have you personally struggled to create the change in life you wanted? Have you ever felt held back in some way when trying to learn any new personal development program or business opportunity? Have you ever wondered why it is that so many other people who are no smarter or better off than you, why they find it so easy to succeed at investing or trading or internet marketing or dating or business or just in their relationships? But you, even though you're pretty clever, cannot seem to make some important things in your life work. If you said yes to any of those questions, then my friend, your day just got a whole lot better. Because you can now join Success Made Simple, the accelerated learning video course, which contains the very same results-proven bug-free mind process that's already helped tens of thousands of people all over the world to end depression, anxiety, stress and worry, get freedom from fear, eliminate overwhelm, end anger and all resentment, and help more people than any other recorded personal development program to discover their true purpose in life, design their lives for certain success, shatter self-limiting beliefs, manifest desires almost on command, tap their subconscious mind power for the solutions to impossible problems, unleash their full creative powers, remove all the roadblocks that prevent them from living a successful life, and best of all, you're about to get all of this, but in a transformed, powerful, dynamic and accelerated interactive video format that delivers the training to you in a simplified and easy way. Which means it'll give you even faster, more dramatic results than ever before. When you consider that even personal development giants like Tony Robbins and Bob Proctor have publicly stated that only 1% of their materials ever get read, let alone acted upon, whereas my Bug-Free Mind books and audios have a 9,100% increase on this pitiful success rate. But now I've developed this Success Made Simple accelerated learning video course to take simplicity to a whole new level. Previously, the biggest problem we had in helping you create success in your life was getting you to read or listen to the recordings in the first place. Because there's this association with pain that's related to books that's been stamped on people's minds by their experiences with our educational system. So I've always had to fight against this, but not anymore. Because with Success Made Simple, what we've done is simply remove the book learning equals pain obstacle completely. Now it's just a case of you picking up your phone, iPad, laptop, desktop computer, and just watching 2 to 3 short videos every week, reading the notes that come with most videos, and then allowing the special process I designed to give you back everything you need to create the success you want in your life. This is your invitation to experience a dramatic, powerful, and permanent transformation in your life. These videos are special, even though I say so myself. Every word, every slide, every sound, every picture has a purpose and must be delivered in a certain way at a specific time to get past the ego's defences and create the change you desire. It makes the successful attainment of the knowledge simple. And most importantly, the time delay release, together with the consciousness notes, make it applicable to your life today. Here's how it works. I'm going to send you 2 to 3 of the Success Made Simple videos each week. The full course has 268 short videos, which average about 6 minutes each. Each video took me around 6 hours to research, design and make, and I didn't outsource this. I made every bit of it myself. Why? Because no one else has my mindset, or my eclectic teaching style, or as great an in-depth understanding of the problem. Because I've been fascinated by this subject for decades, which means the course delivers exactly what I say it does. Just check out some of the testimonials on this page and you will see. However, I won't overwhelm you with them, as I have literally thousands of testimonials to the effectiveness of this course. When you start the course, you'll read them in the comments and questions after each video. So, you get the video show up by email, you click the link and you watch it for a few minutes. Then most videos have consideration notes after them. You go through them one at a time and consider them. That's all. No copious note-taking, no exams. You watch for an average of 6 minutes, you read and you think for an average of 4 to 5 minutes, and you do that 2 to 3 times a week. That's it. That's the time you need to put in to achieve all I say you're going to achieve. After those few minutes, you go to work, you go out for the day, or whatever you want to do. Then seamlessly in the background there's a combination of things going on here. The video teaches you some very cool things in a clever way that some slides can give you as much as several thousand words of education in just a few images and well-placed words. This changes your understanding of a subject, and multiple nuances are covered in a particular area, which enables a far deeper understanding of a point than can be achieved in just text alone. All this means your mind is changing. Then as you go through the consider notes, you are rewiring your neural pathways to embed the new understanding. Yes, you are altering your mind with the consideration notes as you read and consider them. They are some of the most powerful things I've ever created because you will feel your level of consciousness raising, probably on every video. But it's not any sort of mind control on my part. All I'm doing is giving you specific signposts to exactly what to think about, exactly where to look in your mind. Then, your fresh understanding, together with your presence and consciousness, mean multiple paradigm shifts happen to reshape your understanding and your thinking. It's all about focus, awareness, questioning, and knowing exactly where to look. I thought it was cool when I created it. Then after thousands of people telling me things like, totally different from other self-improvement materials, then I knew I'd got it right. So, after an average of 10 to 11 minutes of watching, reading and considering, you go about your day. Which means this accelerated learning takes place in around 26 minutes a week. You'll also usually find the video helps your day at some point. Because of the changes you've made to rewiring your thinking, then you have a heightened awareness of the material, and so you continue to consider parts of it and how it affects your life instead of spending more time in the waking sleep. The effect of this is your day is easier. You feel better, you feel you're getting somewhere, and you feel your life is getting easier. On the days you don't get a video, you either do nothing, as you'll still be considering what you learned in those 10 to 11 minutes, or you re-watch the last video or a previous one. Your choice. Now, what's really cool about this new method of training is even though the actual time you spend watching, reading and thinking is less than 30 minutes a week, because of what it does to your mind, it has almost the exact same effect as an immersive experience. Which means, element 1, you are not overwhelmed and drowning with information. Element 2, you are applying just-in-time learning. Element 3, you are adapting to how your mind is constantly changing and keeping up. Element 4, you are not chasing simplicity. That's 26 minutes a week is simple enough for massive progress. Element 5. You are immersed in the training without giving up countless hours. So this isn't about you buying another product to put on your shelf or clog up your ability to succeed. This is about you getting the actual progress you have been looking for. In return for the small monetary investment I'm going to ask of you, I am guaranteeing to shift your mindset to a state where you can create everything you want in life. I know you can do it because I've been doing it my entire life. Once you begin watching the Success Made Simple accelerated learning videos and regain your natural success mindset, you'll see how simple life can be without all the resistance that typically comes from feeling of depression, feelings of low self-worth, feeling you lack confidence, feeling that you're not good enough or not worthy, feeling that you're not smart, feeling that you're dumb, feeling that you're a failure. Honestly, it's all garbage. But you've heard it all before. Just imagine if you could take one book or course on success and fully learn it so that you get it to a level of applying every lesson into your life. Can you imagine how powerful that would be? After all, that's what they tell you you'll get when they sell you the book or the course. But as I've proved with the 5 elements, you don't get that. You get to study, but you don't get the progress promised. But they delivered it, you just couldn't do it for some reason. So you don't complain. But can you imagine for a second how powerful you'd become if you could fully learn and apply it? All the promise actually delivered right into your life. How good would that feel? How wonderful would your life become? Well, that is what I've designed to happen for you with Success Made Simple, because it makes your success simple. All your current difficulties fall away with just 2 to 3 videos each week. The problem is, we are trained to want instant success. They tell us, read this book and you will be successful. But you know it doesn't work like that. If it did, the book would sell for a fortune. But the secret is, it can work by retraining your mind to think differently and adapt and enhance every area of your life in the process. That's the power of this entirely new method of training I've developed in Success Made Simple. Because it serves you up bite-sized but mega powerful bits, which deliver accelerated learning direct to your way of thinking. But don't make up your mind now. All you have to do is say maybe. You don't have to make up your mind now, because you can take up to 60 days to decide if Success Made Simple, the accelerated learning video course, is for you. You can sit down and watch the videos, let them go to work on your mind. Let the unique structured thinking style I use lead you on an eye-opening journey into your mind, where you'll first observe it in action, then regain control, and finally relearn the natural skill of focus, success, and personal achievement, which is just the way you did it as a child when you first learned to walk. I know 2 to 3 10-minute videos a week sounds like a lot of work. My mistake, it doesn't. It sounds too easy, doesn't it? Which is why I guarantee this course. This has been designed to be the most relaxing, enjoyable, and often humorous personal development course you've ever seen. Just work the simple exercises, apply the strategies, and you can't avoid reaping the rewards. Your success is certain. Because remember, if you're not blown away with the power over your mind and ability to manifest results that Success Made Simple has given you, just say the word and I'll personally refund every penny of the purchase price in the first 60 days. Do it now while it's on your mind, before anything else comes up to distract you. If you've been struggling with achieving your personal development goals and making more money, overcoming depression, anxiety, stress, creating better relationships, and you're frustrated by your lack of progress as the years continue to fly past you faster and faster and faster, ask yourself how this is ever going to change for you. How are you going to get past those 5 elements that you have been trained with since you first went to school? How are you going to do that and accomplish your dreams? Because let's face it, the last 12 months have just flown by. And by now it should be obvious to anyone that if you keep doing the same old things, then you're just going to keep getting the same old results. If you don't have the results you want, then whatever you've been doing up until now hasn't been working, has it? And now you do know, if you keep doing it their way, then it's still not going to be working in another 12 months. And it won't be working anytime this year, next year, or any other time in the future, because doing more of doing it the wrong way won't magically fix it. But in this video, I have shown you I understand the problem. And you've seen in the video alone that I can demonstrate it to you too. So by all means, don't benefit from applying Ben Franklin's 200-year-old success secret into your life by using the world's first personal development implementation system that's embedded into every video in the Success Made Simple course, so that you can finally use and apply what you're learning instead of just collecting book after book, course after course. That's entirely your choice. I bet you can think of loads of good reasons for not joining me on the Success Made Simple Accelerated Learning video course. We've all got a big long list of reasons why we can't do the things we know we need to do to succeed. But just so long as you do realise and understand, if you don't, the next 12 months will pass anyway. And so will the next year, a year in which you could finally shift your mindset into gear and supercharge your ability to think and actually make progress. If you don't do it, then I have to state this clearly. You'll still be in the position you're in now, won't you? So you have one choice and one choice only. And if Success Made Simple Accelerated Learning isn't right for you, then it's not right for you, and that's fine. But if you feel it is right for you, then I strongly urge you to join us. Follow your intuition. Your mind plays tricks on you, your intuition doesn't. So sign up to Success Made Simple, the Accelerated Learning video course today.